My beloved, listen closely, because what I'm about to say is not just for your ears, but for your heart, for your spirit, for the depth of your soul. There are moments in your life when God is trying to open your eyes, not to punish you, not to make you bitter, but to wake you up from the deception of false companionship, from the illusion of loyalty, from the trap of emotional slavery, to people who do not value you, who do not honor the divine presence in your life. You see, not every smile is sincere, not every hug is holy, and not every friend is faithful. There are people around you who do not care about you, and God wants you to see them for what they are before they destroy the purity of your spirit. God never called you to be blind to the truth. God called you to walk in the light. But some of you are walking with people who pull you into darkness, who drain you, who use you, who only show up when they need something. And you, my dear listener, you keep making excuses for their behavior. Keep hoping they will change. Keep convincing yourself that they love you. But the truth is, they don't care about you, and you know it deep down. God has whispered it to your heart in those lonely moments, in those late night tears, in those betrayals that cut you like a blade. But still, you stayed. Now hear this with conviction: when someone doesn't care about you, God will allow their actions to speak louder than their words. God will remove their mask. You don't need to chase people who walk away. You don't need to beg for attention, for respect, for love, because the God who formed you in the womb did not design you to be a doormat. God called you to be strong, to be dignified, to be free from the chains of false relationships. The first sign of someone who doesn't care about you is indifference. They're not moved by your pain. You can be breaking inside, and they'll scroll past your tears like they're watching a show. They don't ask how you are. They don't check in unless they want something. And when you try to share your heart, they roll their eyes, they change the subject, they make you feel like a burden. That's not love. That's not loyalty. That's not the will of God for your life. The second behavior is disrespect. People who don't care about you will mock your beliefs. They'll downplay your victories. They'll highlight your flaws. They will treat you like you're replaceable, disposable, insignificant. And God did not put His breath in your body so you could live at the mercy of human approval. You are precious in the eyes of God. And when someone disrespects what God has created, they are not just offending you, they are dishonoring the Creator Himself. The third trait is disloyalty. They talk behind your back, they smile in your face, but they poison your name when you're not in the room. God sees that. God hears what they say in secret. And let me tell you, no weapon formed against a child of God shall prosper. But you must stop giving your loyalty to those who would betray you for the smallest gain. When God exposes disloyalty, He's not being cruel, He's protecting you from destruction. The fourth is manipulation. People who don't care about you will twist your emotions. They'll gaslight you into thinking you're the problem. They'll guilt trip you into silence. They'll use your kindness as a weapon against you. And before you know it, you're shrinking, you're walking on eggshells, you're afraid to speak your truth. But God does not dwell in fear. God dwells in truth. And where God is, there is peace, not confusion, not anxiety, not emotional torment. The fifth sign is inconsistency. They're hot and cold, in and out, here today and gone tomorrow. They give you just enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to make you feel secure. That's not love. That's control. And God does not bless confusion. When someone truly cares, their presence is consistent. Their words align with their actions, and they show up, not only in your sunshine, but in your storms. The sixth behavior is selfishness. Every conversation is about them. Every situation must revolve around their wants, their needs, their plans. And you are just an accessory to their ego. But hear me now. God did not create you to orbit around anyone else's world. God made you in His image. That means you have value, purpose, and a voice that deserves to be heard. Do not stay where your presence is tolerated, but your absence is celebrated. The seventh is envy. People who don't care about you secretly hate to see you bless. They smile when you struggle, and they stay silent when you succeed. And God will show you their hearts through their reactions, through their silence, through their subtle jabs. Don't ignore it. When someone cannot celebrate what God is doing in your life, it's because they never wanted you to rise. And anyone who is threatened by your elevation cannot walk with you into your destiny. The eighth and final sign is neglect. They don't pray for you. They don't defend you. They don't invest in your growth. They vanish when life gets hard. And God says enough. Enough of begging, enough of chasing, enough of tying your worth to people who wouldn't even lift a finger for you. When someone consistently neglects your heart, your soul, your value, they have forfeited the right to walk with you. You've cried enough tears for people who never shed one for you. You've lost sleep over people who rest easy after breaking your heart. You've given your best to people who only gave you crumbs. But God is saying, it ends now. This is the season where you reclaim your dignity, where you let go of what is not aligned with your purpose, where you stop asking for love from people who don't even love themselves. And hear me, when you release what doesn't care about you, God will make room for what does. God will send people who honor your presence, who cover you in prayer, who lift you up instead of tearing you down. You don't need a crowd. You just need the ones who are sent by God, and you will know them not by their words, but by their fruit. Because when someone is sent by God, they reflect God's love, God's patience, God's truth, and God's peace. You've been fighting battles you were never meant to fight, all because you're trying to hold on to people God told you to let go of. You're exhausted not because of your calling, but because of your attachments. You are tired because you are dragging dead weight. People who have no intention of growing, of loving, of being accountable. Let it go. Let them go. If someone can walk away, let them walk. Because if they were truly assigned by God, they could not leave. God is not a God of confusion. God does not send people into your life to break you, to belittle you, to ignore you. When people show you who they are, believe them. When their actions scream louder than their apologies, believe what you see. Stop romanticizing their potential. Stop waiting for them to become who you need. They are showing you now, and God is saying, watch. Watch who never claps for you. Watch who disappears when you struggle. Watch who only loves you when it's easy. You cannot fulfill your purpose while being tied to poison. You cannot carry the oil of God while surrounded by those who secretly resent your anointing. You cannot rise while you're tethered to those who pull you down. And that's why this word is urgent, because someone listening right now is wasting their life trying to make people care who simply don't. And God is calling you out of that prison. God is calling you to freedom, to truth, to healing. You are not weak for walking away. You are not mean for setting boundaries. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. That's wisdom. That's obedience. That's walking in the Spirit. And when you do that, God begins to move. God begins to heal the wounds they left. God begins to open doors no man can shut. Because the moment you stop crying over who left, you make room for who's coming. You are not alone. God is with you. Even when people abandon you, God remains. Even when the crowd turns their back, God turns his face toward you. Even when you feel unloved, God surrounds you with mercy. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not too broken to be restored. But you must stop feeding the weeds and start watering the flowers God has planted. There is power in walking away from what wounds you. There is strength in releasing who does not value you. There is peace in knowing that God sees, God knows, and God will reward. So don't waste another day trying to win the approval of the wrong people. Don't sacrifice your joy for the sake of keeping people comfortable. God didn't call you to be liked. God called you to be set apart. And when you choose obedience over people-pleasing, when you walk in the truth no matter how lonely it feels, when you stand firm even when others walk away, that's when God shows up. That's when God fights for you. That's when God vindicates you. Because no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who trust Him over man. My dear soul, hear this with spiritual clarity. When you finally open your eyes to the behaviors of those who do not care about you, you are not stepping into bitterness, you are stepping into wisdom. God is not calling you to harden your heart, but to guard it. God is not asking you to stop loving people, but to stop giving your love to those who trample it. There is a holy difference. There is a sacred balance, and those who walk closely with God must learn to discern not just what is good, but what is aligned with God's will. Some of you are being drained not because of your responsibilities, but because of your relationships. And let me speak this into your spirit: any connection that costs you your peace, your clarity, your faith is too expensive. You cannot afford to walk with those who strip you of your inner strength, who make you second-guess your worth, who silence the voice God placed within you. God has already declared you worthy, chosen, loved, and set apart. When others treat you like an option, God is reminding you that you are not just someone. They are mistreating what God has ordained. You must understand this: not everyone who walks with you is walking for you. Some walk beside you only for access. Some walk with you only for the benefits of your kindness. And when the benefits stop, so does their loyalty. And when their true face is revealed, you cry, not because of what they did, but because of what you believed about them. But even in that, God is merciful. God allows disappointments to become divine redirection. What feels like betrayal is often just God's hand removing you from danger you could not see. Let me speak a deeper truth to you now. When you are walking in obedience to God, you will lose people. Not because you are unkind, but because your spirit irritates those who are comfortable in their dysfunction. Your growth exposes their complacency. Your peace threatens their chaos, and your light makes them confront their own shadows, and so they retreat, they attack, they belittle. But do not be shaken. For every person who walks away, God is drawing you closer to purpose. God never designed you to chase those who walk away. When people leave, let them. The same God who watches the sparrow fly is watching you mourn what He already removed. Stop picking up what God has told you to release. Stop planting seeds in soil that is proven barren. God is not just the giver of good things, He is also the remover of harmful things. When someone exits your life, do not only ask why, ask what God is making room for. Every ending carries the seed of a greater beginning. There is a powerful deception the enemy uses. He convinces you to lower your standards in the name of love. He tells you to tolerate neglect, to excuse disrespect, to absorb constant pain, all in the name of keeping the peace. But peace without dignity is not peace. It is imprisonment. God is not the author of such confusion. God calls you to love, yes, but never at the expense of your own soul. You are called to compassion, not to self-destruction. You are called to patience, not to passive suffering. And let me say this boldly: your kindness is not a weakness. Your loyalty is not a flaw. But giving it to the wrong people turns your strength into sorrow. That's why God urges you to walk with wisdom. Love must be intentional. Mercy must be guided. Forgiveness does not mean allowing someone to keep access to the sacred parts of you while they continue to defile them. God wants you healed, not just hospitable. You can love from a distance. You can release and still wish them well. That is strength, that is obedience. Some of you are clinging to relationships that God is actively trying to end. You cry out for peace, yet hold on to chaos. You ask God for clarity, but keep inviting confusion to your table. Let me speak into your life. Not everyone deserves a seat in your sacred space. Your heart is not a revolving door. Your presence is not common, and God is calling you to protect what He has placed within you. That means some invitations will need to be revoked. Some access must be denied. And I know it hurts. It hurts to outgrow people you once called family. It hurts to release those you prayed for, fought for, sacrificed for. But remember this: the same God who allowed them in for a season is the same God removing them for your protection. God sees what you cannot. God hears the words you don't. And God knows the weight of unseen betrayal. So when God closes the door, don't force it back open. Let Him be your guide, your filter, your protector. You are not being abandoned. You are being aligned. You are not being punished. You are being preserved. God is not taking from you. He is making space for what is worthy of your purpose. You cannot carry dead relationships into divine places. You cannot drag yesterday's poison into tomorrow's blessing. The price is too high, and the calling on your life is too great. let them go. Let God do what only God can do. Heal you, elevate you, and surround you with people who reflect His love. Now hear me with unwavering certainty. God never intended for you to walk alone. But before He sends the right people, He must first remove the wrong ones. Before He pours fresh oil, He must first clean the vessel. Before He surrounds you with those who pour into you, He must first show you who only came to drain. You have to go through the pruning. You have to walk through the fire. But it is not to destroy you, it is to refine you. There is a new season on the horizon, a season where you no longer cry over who doesn't care, a season where you rise with clarity, walk with purpose, and speak with boldness, a season where you no longer question your worth based on the treatment of others, because you know who you are, not through their words, but through God's truth. You are chosen, you are called, you are protected, you are enough, you are not what they said, you are what God declared. So I speak this into your soul. From this day forward, no more tolerating what wounds you, no more calling dysfunction loyalty, no more seeking validation from the blind. You are free, you are whole, you are walking into a season where God will surround you with those who see your worth, value your presence, and reflect His peace. And you will know them, not by their charm, but by the peace of God that follows them. Keep walking in truth, even if it means walking alone for a while. Keep choosing peace over popularity. Keep trusting God, even when you don't understand the why. Because the same God who allowed you to see their true colors is the same God who is painting your future with promises. Let the pain of the past become the strength of your spirit. Let the rejection become redirection. Let the heartbreak become healing. For what lies ahead is greater than what lies behind. You are not too late. You are not forgotten. God is just preparing the foundation for something greater. And all those who walked away, they were never the builders. They were only passing shadows. But God is the architect. And when He builds your future, it will not be shaken. When He establishes your peace, it will not be disturbed. And when He brings people into your life, you won't have to question their love. Because real love, God-sent love, will not confuse you. It will cover you. It will strengthen you. It will glorify the God who brought it into your life. There is a moment in every soul's journey when the fog must clear, when the veil must lift, when the heart must stop lying to itself. And in that sacred moment, God demands honesty, not just with the world, but within. Because you cannot walk in divine truth while clinging to human deception. You cannot claim to be seeking God's will while holding tightly to what God has already exposed as a hindrance. And hear me now, this message is not for the faint-hearted. It is for those who are ready to stop entertaining what is draining, to stop making space for what is sent to distract, and to stop calling what is dysfunctional normal. Too many live bound because they are too afraid to confront the truth that some people were never meant to go where God is taking you. And that's the spiritual war you must win, not in the presence of your enemies, but in the courtroom of your own soul. God will not drag you into peace while you keep entertaining chaos. God will not place you into your next season while your heart is still wrapped around what belongs to the last one. This is a call to spiritual maturity, a call to break cycles, a call to see clearly, and a call to stop handing the keys of your soul to people who do not respect its doors. When someone doesn't care about you, their spirit will show it long before their lips admit it. And too often we wait for the confession when God has already shown the evidence. You are not blind. You're just afraid to believe what you see. But the time has come to stop living in denial, because denial is costly. It will keep you tied to trauma. It will keep you worshiping potential instead of accepting reality. And God is not in the business of fantasy. God is truth. And when truth enters, everything false must bow. Do not confuse history with destiny. Just because they've always been around doesn't mean they are meant to stay. God doesn't preserve relationships based on length of time. God preserves based on alignment. And when a person's spirit no longer aligns with where God is taking you, separation becomes holy. Releasing becomes obedience. Letting go becomes praise. And in your release, you are telling God, I trust you more than I trust my own desires. We must understand that the walk with God is a walk of constant shedding. Shedding illusions, shedding attachments, shedding false peace. Because the more you walk in truth, the more uncomfortable you become with anything that disrupts the stillness God places in your soul. And people who don't care about you, they always disrupt that stillness with their indifference, their disrespect, their inconsistency. They carry a spirit of instability, and God is not the author of instability. Let me say this with unshakable clarity. Being kind does not mean being silent in the face of dishonor. Being faithful to God does not mean tolerating dishonesty. You can forgive and still walk away. You can wish them well and still choose peace. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. And clarity is the gift God gives when you stop negotiating with your worth. Clarity is the power to see people not through the eyes of pain or hope or nostalgia, but through the eyes of truth. And when God gives you that sight, everything changes. This is your divine wake-up call. Some of you have been making excuses for behaviors that God has been trying to remove. You've been praying for peace, but entertaining people who thrive in dysfunction. You've been asking for clarity while drowning in mixed signals and broken boundaries. And God is saying, enough. Enough of playing small to keep others comfortable. Enough of compromising your purpose for company. Enough of settling for presence without investment. You must understand, God will never ask you to keep watering what He is trying to uproot. And sometimes the greatest act of faith is walking away from what you once prayed for, because God showed you it was never truly meant for you. You are not failing by letting go. You are not weak for choosing solitude over chaos. You are being prepared. You are being set apart. You are being preserved for what God has ahead. Do not mourn the loss of what God never endorsed. Some people were blessings, others were lessons, but both were part of the plan. And when you truly walk with God, you begin to realize that no one leaves your life without purpose. Some exits are protection, some departures are preparation, some losses are launches, and you will never step into what is next until you stop clinging to what's already expired. And don't mistake God's silence as His absence. Just because He hasn't revealed what's next doesn't mean He isn't working. God is often quiet when He is building. God is often silent when He is shifting. And while you cry over who left, God is preparing who's coming. But you must pass the test of release, the test of trust, the test of walking away without needing closure from the person, because you already got confirmation from God. Let me speak to the pain in your chest, the ache in your spirit. It's not the end. It's the breaking before the blessing. It's the cutting before the cultivation. And though it hurts now, what's coming will make sense later. God never removes without replacing. But He doesn't just replace people, He replaces the broken version of you that thought you needed them. And when the healing begins, you'll look back and thank God for every closed door, every betrayal, every exit, because it was in the loss that you found your true self again. People who don't care about you cannot help you grow. They stunt your vision, they drain your fire, they mute your prayers, and their assignment was never to build you, but to test you. And once the test is passed, the season ends. And if you hold on beyond the season, the blessing turns into bondage. You don't need another round of the same heartbreak to believe what God has already shown you. Walk away now so you don't have to crawl out later. God is holy, God is wise, God is just, and He doesn't want His beloved walking around, wounded, confused, empty, and begging. You are not a beggar. You are not forgotten. You are not someone who must earn scraps of love. You are already loved by the eternal, already chosen, already seen, already enough. Stop giving the power of God's affirmation to people who can barely affirm themselves. You're not too much. You're not too sensitive. You're not too intense. You are exactly who you are meant to be. And the people who are meant to walk with you, they won't fear your light. They will reflect it. They will honor it. And they will point you back to the God who placed it in you. You won't have to chase, beg, or explain yourself. Real love, God-ordained love, will recognize the divine within you. This is a sacred turning point. This is the moment you stop trying to fix what was never yours to fix. This is the hour you stop carrying guilt for seeing the truth. And this is the season you return to yourself, not the broken, fearful, approval-seeking self, but the powerful, God-centered, healed self that knows when to walk away with grace and stand tall in peace. God is not finished with you. This is not your defeat, it's your reset. This is not your failure, it's your preparation. The shaking you feel is the old foundation crumbling, and when God is finished, you will stand on ground so steady, you will wonder why you ever tried to build on the sand of people's opinions. And now, beloved soul, let your spirit rise from the place where it was once trampled. Let your mind ascend from the confusion that once held it hostage. Let your heart be revived by the eternal truth that if God has removed it, you never needed it. What you thought was love was a lesson. What you thought was your future was only a temporary chapter. And now God, in divine mercy and unmatched wisdom, is calling you to graduate from the pain, not dwell in it. The classroom of betrayal is not your home. The pit of disappointment is not your destiny. You have lingered long enough in the land of sorrow. Now is the time to step into the land of discernment. When someone shows you that your tears don't move them, your voice doesn't matter to them, and your loyalty is met with silence, do not argue with that reality. Accept it. Let God's revelation replace your fantasy, because the longer you entertain what doesn't serve your spirit, the more you delay what God is preparing for you. Some of you are praying for a harvest, but your hands are full of thorns. God cannot place something sacred into hands that won't let go of what is damaging. You were not created to carry everyone. You were not designed to be the emotional dumpster for people who only show up to dump their pain and disappear when you need a word of hope. There is nothing righteous about overextending yourself to people who never plan to pour back. The energy you give, the prayers you offer, the love you extend, it is not cheap, it is sacred, because it flows from the breath that God placed in you. And anything that flows from God must be handled with care. You are not wrong for expecting reciprocity. You are not arrogant for recognizing your value. You are simply walking in awareness that your time, your peace, your spirit, all belong to God first. And when people mishandle what belongs to God, you must take your hands off the wheel and let God drive the separation. Stop fighting what He is trying to finalize. Stop defending those He is exposing. Stop fixing what He's breaking apart for your salvation. Because not all endings are losses, some are divine rescues. And every time God removes someone who doesn't care about you, He is clearing space for peace to enter, for clarity to reign, and for strength to rise again. Hear me now. The silence of some people is not just neglect, it is a message. The delay in their response, the absence of their presence, the disinterest in your growth, that is not oversight, that is intentional, and your spirit knows it. You feel the imbalance, you sense the one-sidedness, and yet you convince yourself to give it one more try, one more chance, one more day. But that day turns into months, and those months turn into years, and all the while, God has been standing beside you, waiting for you to believe what He's been showing you. God is not emotional confusion. God is not the spirit of guilt. God does not want you enslaved to emotional turmoil masked as friendship. God is truth, and truth liberates. Truth doesn't keep you guessing. Truth doesn't leave you wondering if you matter. When people are sent by God, they reflect the peace of God. They speak life, not drain it. They give joy, not grief. They sharpen your soul, not strip it of its strength. You must understand that the most dangerous people in your life are not always the loudest enemies. They are the silent betrayers, the ones who don't fight you but also never fight for you, the ones who never slander you but also never speak up in your defense, the ones who are close enough to know your heart yet distant enough to watch it break and say nothing. And if you are not careful, you will start believing that this lukewarm loyalty is love. But God's love is not lukewarm. God's love does not leave you anxious. God's love brings peace even in storms. So, child of God, rise from the table where love is no longer served. Stand up from the conversations where your soul has been silenced. Step away from the connections that only take and never give. And when you do, you will feel the breath of God fill your lungs again. You will feel strength return to your bones. You will feel the chains of guilt, shame, and confusion begin to shatter, and what's left will be something holy, something pure, something rooted in truth, not fear. Let me tell you something sacred. When you release what doesn't care for you, God releases what does, but the replacement never comes before the release. There must be a death before resurrection. There must be a closing before the opening. And though it may sting to walk away from what's familiar, it is better to walk with God in uncertainty than to stay with people who make you question your worth. And hear this clearly, God never called you to be anyone's emotional crutch, punching bag, or backup plan. You are not someone's afterthought. You are not a placeholder. You are not a seasonal comfort. You are divinely formed, uniquely chosen, eternally loved. And anyone who fails to see that is simply not aligned with your assignment. Their inability to value you does not reflect your value, it reveals their blindness. So stop mourning over the ones who didn't see you. Stop losing sleep over those who had access to your soul and did nothing but damage it. And stop handing your future to those who were never even grateful for your presence. Let God be your compass again. Let God restore what they tried to drain. Let God take His rightful place in your decisions, in your boundaries, in your circle. And once you do, you will begin to see miracles unfold. Because God blesses obedience. God honors clarity. God responds to the soul that finally chooses to walk away from dishonor and into destiny. And when you align with that, you will never beg for what is already yours: peace, purpose, power, and protection. You are not here by accident. You are not enduring this message just to nod and go back to business as usual. God brought you here to confront, to awaken, to liberate. The pain was not for destruction, it was for redirection. God used the silence to speak louder than words. God used the absence of others to draw you closer to Himself. And now what will you do with that truth? Will you keep giving away your light to those who only walk with you in shadows? Or will you rise not with anger but with authority? Will you continue pretending you're okay being treated as an option? Or will you declare today enough is enough, and it's time to honor the sacred presence of God within you? Because when you walk in that truth, when you walk in the awareness of who you are and whose you are, everything changes. Doors open, strength returns, peace floods, and people who are meant for you begin to find their way into your life, not by force but by the flow of divine alignment. Let the ones who never cared fall away like dust in the wind, but let God remain as the anchor of your soul, the fire in your spirit, and the compass for your steps. For what God is doing next in your life requires space, purity, and clarity. It requires you to be unchained from the weight of false attachments. And as you rise, you'll look back not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because now you know when someone doesn't care, God does. When someone abandons, God remains. And when someone leaves, it simply means God is about to enter in a greater way. My dear listener, there is a fire burning in the heart of those who finally realize they were never meant to carry the weight of one-sided love. And that fire, it is not anger, it is not bitterness, it is the light of awareness that comes from God. It is the sacred flame of understanding that once you are aligned with God, you no longer tolerate what insults your soul. You begin to see through the fog. You begin to see with the eyes of clarity, not confusion. You begin to hear with the ears of truth, not flattery. And what once held you hostage loses its grip. because the voice of God becomes louder than the silence of those who never cared. There is something holy about letting go, not because you are giving up, but because you are giving God permission to take control. You've fought to hold on. You've reasoned. You've justified. You've waited for change. But the change you were praying for in them was always the change God wanted to do in you. You were asking for their hearts to soften while God was waiting for your spirit to awaken. And now, God is stirring something deep within you, an urgency to break the cycle, a courage to close the door, a strength to walk away from what doesn't feed your peace. You must understand this: not everyone who leaves your life is your enemy. Some are instruments of redirection. Some are lessons wrapped in disappointment. Some are mirrors revealing what you must heal in yourself. And once their role is complete, God removes them. And when God removes, it is always for your elevation. God doesn't remove to hurt you. God removes to protect what He's building in you. You may have thought they were part of your future, but God knew they were only part of your formation. And how can God trust you with divine connections if you continue to make idols of those who hurt you? How can He pour new oil into a vessel that clings to contamination? Your destiny cannot be delayed any longer by your refusal to release. Because if you're still seeking closure from the ones who never gave you commitment, you are tying your spirit to their confusion. And confusion is not from God. God is not the author of deception, of gaslighting, of manipulation. When people use your love as leverage, when they twist your loyalty into weakness, when they disappear in your darkest hour, that is not from God. Let it be clear today: anything that cost you your peace, your purpose, your connection with God, is too expensive. Anything that leaves you drained instead of nourished, anxious instead of calm, insecure instead of grounded, is a sign, a warning, a divine signal that this is not the path God has chosen for you. And no matter how much history you have with someone, if their presence now is producing harm, God is asking you to obey, not your emotions, not your attachments, but His guidance. You see, the people who don't care about you will always play the role of confusion. They'll keep you in cycles of waiting, of guessing, of hoping, and never fulfilling. They know just how much to give to keep you tethered, but never enough to allow you peace. And this is why discernment is vital, because not every connection is from God. Some are tests to see if you truly believe what God already told you. You prayed for peace, and God gave you signs. You prayed for direction, and God allowed disappointments. You asked for confirmation, and God revealed their character. Now the answer is in your hands. And let me say this: you do not owe loyalty to anyone who uses your loyalty against you. You do not owe continued access to anyone who violates your boundaries, ignores your needs, and drains your soul. God has called you to be a good steward, not just of your finances or your time, but of your heart. And some of you are mismanaging your heart by handing it to people who have no capacity to protect it. That is not humility. That is spiritual neglect. There is no honor in constantly giving yourself to people who choose you only when it's convenient. That is not love. That is bondage. And bondage disguised as friendship is one of the enemy's most subtle traps, because it convinces you that your pain is noble, that your silence is strength, that your suffering is love. But the truth is, real love, the kind God blesses and sustains, does not hurt this way. Real connection does not leave you abandoned. Real companionship does not celebrate your failures and envy your growth. God does not desire for you to carry burdens He never assigned. And some of you are exhausted, not because you are weak, but because you are carrying what God already told you to drop. He said, walk away, and you waited. He said, set boundaries, and you compromised. He said, protect your peace, and you silenced yourself. But now God is making it unmistakable. The discomfort in your soul is not random. It is revelation. It is God's way of saying, this is not for you. There is more ahead, but you must let go of what holds you back. And here's what you must grasp: your spirit will never be at peace when you are entangled with people who were not assigned to your purpose. You can fake it with smiles, you can mask it with activity, but deep down your soul knows when you are off path. God placed that compass in you, that still small voice that whispers, "You deserve better," that unshakable awareness that you're shrinking in a place where you were meant to grow, that inner fire that won't be silenced by emotional crumbs. That is God pulling you toward clarity, freedom, and sacred alignment. And the moment you choose obedience over emotional attachment, your life will shift. Doors you couldn't force open will begin to swing. Weight you thought you had to carry will suddenly lift. People you once chased will fade without a fight. Because when you let go of who doesn't care, you make space for what God does. You make room for relationships where your presence is appreciated. You create margin for connections that reflect the peace and respect your soul has been starving for. So don't cry over closed doors that God Himself shut. Don't mourn people who walked out while you were trying to build a future with them. Don't lose sleep over those who had access to your heart and still chose to mistreat it. Let them go, not with hatred, but with holy clarity. Let them walk, not with bitterness, but with boundless gratitude that God stepped in and did what you couldn't. You are not a victim, you are victorious. You are not unwanted, you are divinely preserved. You are not empty, you are being prepared. And when God finishes what He started in you, those who dismissed you will not recognize the version of you that rises from this refining. Because what's coming is not just healing, it is transformation, it is strength, it is divine promotion. But first you must obey the voice that says enough, enough of questioning your worth, enough of tolerating what God has exposed, enough of crying over those who rejoice in your pain. God has greater, God has purer, God has true, but you must choose truth over familiarity. You must choose obedience over comfort. You must choose your peace over their presence. And when you do, God will surround you, God will elevate you, God will breathe new life into the places you thought were dead, and you will rise, not with rage, but with reverence, not with scars, but with strength, not with shame, but with purpose, because you chose to believe the one who never left your side. God was there when they walked away. God was there when the pain felt unbearable. God was there when the silence screamed louder than words. And God is here now, still speaking, still guiding, still saying, "I have more for you." Let that truth rest in your bones. Let that fire lead your steps. And let your heart beat again, not for those who couldn't care, but for the one who always has.